Hello, this is Dr. Derek Strachan with Divine Spine Chiropractic, located in the old Ballard Firehouse in Seattle. And today I want to share with you this week's health tip. Last week we were talking about ADHD and ADD and the breakthroughs that were coming through on the research. And this week I wanted to share with you some environmental factors associated with ADHD and ADD. You know, what is really causing these problems in children and adults in general. And so, you know, as you know, our environment is extremely toxic, and there's a lot of different floating symptoms or chemicals out there that when exposed to our nervous systems, can damage our nervous systems. So the two areas that I want to talk about are lead and PCBs. Those seem to be related to ADHD and ADD. And if you go on the website called aboutkidshealth.com, it talks about the different environmental factors associated with lead. And so where can you find lead? Well, it's definitely can be in dust or soil. You know, a lot of homes also who are, old homes have been painted. They've been painted with lead paint, as you probably know this, but that's also an area where lead will show up. Drinking water from older plumbing, you know, the old days and how they plumbed the piping that had lead in it. Breast milk, you know, is a place where you can find lead, because if a mother's exposed to it, then she's going to pass that on in through her breast milk. And then cheap jewelry or PVC blinds, those are really common places to find lead. And also glassware and ceramics are also common places that you can find lead. So those are really some of the main areas that were targeted in the aboutkidsforhealth.com website. And so another area, or not area, but the results of overexposure to lead have led to, you know, people having lower IQ, having behavioral problems. We've noticed that people who have high levels of lead, there's been a correlation with their behavior in children specific. They have reading or learning disabilities. There's been a correlation there. And also just an inability or lack of ability to, you know, sit still and pay attention in the classroom. Those are some, you know, things that are linked to lead. And also the last thing is the increased risk of criminal behavior has been also a link. So people who have, you know, criminal background, when you do their blood work, it seems to have high levels of lead. This is what some of the research that's been found. So the other topic is PCBs. Now PCBs were banned from the United States back in 1979, but they still float around in the environment. So PCBs are highly toxic, as you know, and they're really commonly found, can be found in the research that's found before birth. See, the PCB will pass through the placenta in a baby. So if you have a mom that's got high exposure to PCBs or is in her system, you know, it puts that baby at risk. Drinking breast milk, like the lead, you know, that can definitely show up in the breast milk. And then eating fish or fatty foods that have been contaminated with PCB. Those are really common places to find PCBs nowadays. Even though it's banned in the United States, it still shows up. So you obviously want to, if you're concerned, you know, your child has ADHD or ADD, you want to be checking at those levels and see where they're at, because PCBs are definitely also causing problems with verbal IQ. Attention problems and memory problems. So those are the relationships between PCB and the risks of showing up in the bloodstream or in the system. So you remember that we talked about in the last week is that our nervous systems are constantly communicating to all tissue cells in the body, and they're adapting. The nervous system is adapting to its environment. So as you receive information through your smell, your sight, your touch, your hearing, all those senses, you're bringing all that information into the nervous system, and so it is easy to bring in lead or PCBs, and it's considered a neurotoxin to the nervous system. So it's basically killing your nervous system. So chiropractic is really helpful because we deal with stressors. We deal with the cause of stress. You know, when your body's stressed from these chemistries, you know, that you become subluxated, and it interferes with the neurological pathways between your brain and body. And so by correcting the subluxation patterns which are caused by the stress, it allows for your body to start to heal at its highest capacity. And so if you're somebody who has lead issues or PCV problems, we need to work on towards getting those things out of your system. So there's different detoxes and cleanses that people can do to help with those problems. And so if you have a child, or you yourself is dealing with ADD or ADHD, definitely let me know, and we can talk about how we can help your child become healthier from the inside out, and help them potentially reduce their medications, so they can function more normally. And ideally, maybe we can get them off of medication. It's really, that's up to your doctor's decision, but we want to work towards everything that we can to help that happen, so that these children of ours can live healthy, normal lifestyles and not have to be dependent on some type of drug. So that's our health tip of this week. Just keep in mind that our environment is toxic, and lead and PCBs are seen to be strongly correlated to ADHD and ADD. So if you have a child that's having those issues, you may want to get some blood work to check to see where those levels are at. And if so, then we need to take some actions to help change that environment internally. Make it a great day, and thank you for taking the time to listen to this week's health tip. Bye-bye.